So team, welcome to the day one for our QTP eLearn Fast Track Plus training program. Here is what we're going to do very quickly today. My focus is going to be on the training on QTP, the one we are here to learn today. All right. So I'm not going to spend too much time giving you an overview about the program and so on, but I definitely want to mention a few things which are important for everyone to note. Okay. Number one, there are no prerequisites for this training except for you to watch the day 1, day 2 and day 3 from YouTube. You can play them in full screen and at a 720p pixel, that's it. Watch those videos, it'll give you a good start. Okay, Fast Track Plus does not mean that we are doing a smaller content course. No, we are continuing to do the same focus like earlier. Mastering VB scripting, completely focused towards learning the program itself, which is through frameworks. All right, team. So that is the intent of this whole training. Okay. Now, whatever we're going to do, I'm going to record it and I'm going to host it online. So each of you will have access to these videos to go back, review them and practice for about 200 days. Apart from this 15 plus sessions that we will have in a live environment, and you have access to these recorded videos offline after that, you will also have access to a larger collection of about 80 plus videos. You could watch them as you wish in a specific order which is mentioned in the welcome pack, so that you can practice on different types of applications. Okay, I do not try and stick with one application. I try and change the applications around so that we get different practice, varieties of applications to work with, a change in the overall things and so on. All right, apart from that, everything else is on the website. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me whenever you want to. Okay, so I'm continuing to use QTP 10 for this training program. While QTP 11 is out in the market, and there are a lot of people of you are using QTP 11, not too many differences that are very, very critical from what we really use in a day-to-day world. Okay, so QTP 10 is good to continue to use for a long time, so we will focus on that. If any one of you need to know the differences between these two, you can write to me. I will send you the material around it. All right. Now, just to let you know, team, while you are attending this session, there are different ways to interact. These are large audience that is attending and currently involved in this live classes. They're close to around 80 participants at this moment. So to make sure that I address everything correctly in the way that is needed so that no questions are unanswered, I want to make sure that you enter if you have questions through the chat, or raise your hand if you really want to speak. Every other time, by default, each one of you are muted. Okay, I will try and make sure that as we continue to learn, I will cover as much as needed, but most of your questions will come when you actually practice on the tool. That is when I want you to collaborate with almost 1,000 other participants who have taken my training. They are all connected on a QTP Google group. It is a private community. You will get access to it. You can start to interact with each one of them there. All right, team. So that's the basic overview I wanted to give. And I want to get started with learning QTP now very quickly. Okay, so here is what I'm doing for each of us so that we learn QTP. I may change applications around. I may try and switch between different applications as we go forward, but I wanted to take an application which I am not very familiar with so much, but I believe the whole world, rest of the world is all there. So I wanted to take Facebook, team, and start to do a few automations around it. Now, remember this, team, that the world of automation is built around two things before I get started with it. There is automation testing. Okay, automation is one part of it and testing is the other part. All right. So we will spend 90% of our time trying to automate the application. That is what our skill on VB scripting, frameworks, descriptive programming, everything will come together. We will then eventually migrate into testing any application using what we have learned through automation. Okay. So our whole focus is automation. The only prerequisites is watch those 3 days. That will give you an overview. I want to move forward from there on. All right. Even today's class might be a little basic, but at least you'll get an idea of how we're trying to move forward. So to learn automation, to learn it through QTP, I'm going to take Facebook.com as a test application so that we can all work with it. Just to save time for every one of us, I created a very simple Excel sheet that I wish to share with you and get started. I always like to start with an Excel sheet, team. The reason is very simple. My whole approach has been to emphasize the process of getting to your goal against just achieving your goal, whatever be it. There are hundreds of ways to test. There are even more number of ways to automate and test any application. Okay. But there are certain ways which are more efficient, which are more widely used, which are good to do in our real world environments. For that, going through a methodological way and a process is very important. The reason I start with an Excel is once I put my thoughts on a piece of paper, be it on a document, it's easy for us to then translate what we want anywhere else. Okay, we always have something like a reference to go back and visit. So team, basically, here is a high-level test automation plan. Why do I call it as a high-level test automation plan? This is a synopsis of what typically a test plan or an automation test plan might look like. We are focused on a very small portion of Facebook to start with. I'm saying that we will use Facebook.com to test the basic functionality of login logout. This is just going to be the first 1-2 days. Then we will start to expand. We will write further more different functionalities or scenarios like every one of us use to test. We're going to use browsers as a IE, Internet Explorer 8. I'm sure you can also use 9, and I think it should work. I've tried 9 on Windows 7, IE9, Windows 7 QTP combination, so it was fine. All right, so now, what is Facebook.com? What does it do? Let's do a quick review. I'm glad I picked up Facebook.com because I don't have to spend a zillion amount of time just explaining the functionality. Most of you are already familiar. However, here is what I'm going to do. Thanks, Priya. I think you mentioned that. My steps, what and what? Okay, enter. My step 4 and 6 are the same. Enter password, enter password. Okay. So looks like I have a repeating step which I don't need it. We will see what is the correct one and then take it out. Okay. So I am saying that if we join an organization which is into social networking and which is creating an application similar to Facebook or a Facebook kind of an interface within its own intra company or extra company, whatever. But the idea is they're creating something which is similar to Facebook. And before they release it for the users to start using it, they want to test to see how that application works. Okay. So to do that, they have built, let's say this is the site for us now. If we're going to Facebook, and what are the functionalities? That is the most important part. Basically, what is it that the user will do? Any user is going to do. The first thing they're going to do is sign up, create a unique login for themselves, enter their details, their names, password, different other biographic details about themselves, and then register to that application. Once they've registered to that application, they can log in, sign in. That is the next functionality. Okay. There are many other functionalities that you'll see here. Our intent, what is our intent, team? Our intent is not to test Facebook. Our intent is not to master Facebook how it works. Our intent is to learn QTP while we try and test some of the features of Facebook. Okay, we want to master VB scripting. We want to master frameworks. That's our intent. So to do that, I have created something called as a test data. What is my test data? To test this application, I need data. What data do I need? Either I have to sign up every time, get the details, and then try and log in. In this case, I have created a test data. I said there is an email, password, type, and some details like date of birth. Very simple. And I created 3 accounts. For 2 of them, I know the passwords for which I can share with you. So I'm going to take the email address. I'm going to put the email address. And let's say I'm going to type that password also, just to show you the functionality of it. And I will click on login. Once I do that, I have come inside this account. Okay. As a new user who just registered, here is more like my welcome screen. Do I see my friends here? No, I'm not yet connected to my friends because I have to go advanced. I have to try and find who are the other friends of mine who are there on this application called Facebook, and then I can connect with them. I can invite them and so far. Okay. Now all I'm doing is log into that application, test that I'm logged in. How can I test that I'm logged in, team? Any ideas from anyone? Can you use the chat to send me a message as to how can you test that I'm logged in to the application? So let's say we go to the username and we enter the we go to the facebook.com, we enter a username and password, we click on login. We are here on this page. If I see sign out, very good, yes. If I see sign out, where can I see sign out? I can't see sign out here. Can we say sign out here? Forget about QTP, forget about automation for a second. We're just focused on trying to look at how we automate, how we test any application. Okay, I can see logout, good. Under account, drop down, we see log out, good. If we see skip this step, okay, could be, possibly. Okay, not necessarily, but possibly yes, skip this step. If I see this thing, whatever, it's a text or link or whatever it is. Or if we see find friends, or if I see my own email address here, correct? Or I see step 1, step 2, step 3. So I can use a choice of different things. Who decides? The requirement of that application decides. Okay, the application will say that when a new user logs in, he or she must see step number 1. He should see this information, he or she. Number 2, he or she should see this and this and this and this. So there is a whole list of things that person, individual must see. Okay. Now, if I use a email address which is not yet registered. Okay. So let's say we sign out of this. If I use an email address which is not yet registered, then what happens? Facebook login, fixed misspelling. It looks like you entered a slight misspelling of your email or username. Please re-enter your password. So it has recognized that the closest matching thing is that qtp.paytest@gmail.com. And that application is trying to show me the closest matching one. But what if so everything is done manually, team. Look at it. We are not trying to automate anything. QTP is not yet open. Okay. So what if I entered something which is absolutely different and I enter some password? Incorrect email. The email you entered does not belong to any account. You may try clearing your browser's cache or cookies or whatever. So basically it's saying if you're a new user, you're going to see a different page. If you have not yet registered, you're going to see this message. If you're already a pre-existing user, you may see a different message altogether. All right. That's the functionality. Why did I take this effort of explaining this to you? I've taken this effort of explaining this to you because you have just joined an organization which is building an application similar to this facebook.com. You are part of the testing team which needs to automate this application. This application goes through changes which can happen every 2 weeks, every 5 weeks, or every 3 months, whatever. But every time a change happens, it's your duty to make sure everything in this application is working correctly. Okay, so we're going to take it easy because we just joined this project. How are we going to work on it? Okay, so let's take 1 or 2 scenarios and try and automate. So if we are manual testing engineers, what is it that we're going to do? We're going to write the steps that we need to automate for testing the basic functionality of login logout. What are they? We're going to open the browser. We're going to go to that URL. We will enter the password. We will enter, email, password. We'll click on the login button. Then we got to confirm that the login is a success. Do I need to enter the password again out here on step 13? No, I don't. It's a manual error. When I created this test plan at high level to test one basic functionality, it was my error. Okay, so now we know this is not correct, so I can delete it. All right, or you can just cross it out. So there should be somewhere on format cells where I can strike through this, right? Font strike through. Okay, so this is not needed for us. Then we confirm login success. How do we do that? That we have logged in. Either we see logout or sign out. I'm sorry, I don't remember which one that was. Or we see incorrect email, something like that. One of those messages should come up. Then we will log out if we have successfully logged in and close browser. So do you as manual users understand this? If I send you this Excel, let's say I'm the team lead, I'm the test lead. You have joined my project. Okay, you're sitting in a different location. I want you to test. If I send you this set of information, will you be able to do it? And that's where the next set of questions come. What are they? So let me unhide few columns that I have hidden. So I'm going to hide these back. Now, as manual users, open browser, you know it. But which browser? It's already mentioned here, IE8. Go to the application URL. You know what to do, how to go to the URL. But which URL? It's already here. So you don't have any questions so far. Manual users. Enter email address, but what is that email address? Enter a password. Which password? What is the password? Right? So you need to answer these things. So email address, password, I wrote in the email that it's there in the test data. Good, it's here. I have email address, password, type, and so on. But you have 3 of them. That's your next question. You're going to take a simple notepad and say notes back to team lead or test lead Karthik. Let's say this is what you're going to write. 1. What's your question? There are 3 data rows or 3 rows of data in the test data tab. Okay, so you're keeping notes of the questions you have so that you can reply back as you're going through it. Okay, now next. So good, enter email, enter password, click on login button. This is fairly simple. So here you don't need to anything. This is yes. We're going to say manually yes. This is strike. There's nothing to do. Okay, easiest of all for you, for me, everyone. We don't have to do anything. Confirm login success. So how are you going to confirm? What if you assume something and if I'm assuming something else? You got to be clear, right? So what exactly are we going to use? Okay, what exactly are we saying? Let's be precise about it. If I see something like, okay, Karthik has logged in, that is what you expect. Or QTP eLearn has logged in, that is what you expect. But I as a team lead or test lead, I'm expecting that just sign out is what you should see. Or you should see that invite your friends capability. So you got to be clear on them. Log out with what? How are you going to log out? Click on that link. So this is easy. As manual experts, we can. So there are questions you and I can answer. There are questions you and I cannot answer by just explaining these simple things. Now, when we need to automate, you are honestly teaching an idiot who can do a great work. What is the great work that person who cannot think do? That person can do exactly what you told very quickly, very efficiently, and whenever you want. There are 3 rules for automation team. Okay, 3 rules. Number 1, it's got to be efficient. Okay, if I take to build let's say a car in a year's time and I want to go to automation and that automation plant is taking 2.5 years to build the same car, it is useless. It is efficient, so they have to cut down on the amount of time it took to build it. Okay, it should be reusable. I will spend a lot of effort in creating that automation manufacturing plant. If I only build 1 car out of it, what is the point of investing so much money, effort, and people into it, right? And it must be accurate. Okay, why accurate? I'm an artist. I can build the best car which can perform in, let's say, a Formula 1 race. If a factory is doing the same and it cannot deliver the same quality, what's the use? As long as your automation tools are efficient, they can be reused and are accurate, and each of them should be met. It's not or, it is and. Okay, They're all and to each other. You can then certify that this is a good automation. You got to teach that system. You got to coach that system how to automate. But when you're doing it, it's your duty to understand how you communicate with them. All right. And to do that with QTP, you got to answer more questions. Most important questions that QTP is going to ask you is, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to do? Let's say, for example, you want to enter email address. What is that email address? Where should we enter that email address? That's the question to be answered. Enter password. What is the password? Where should I enter the password? Click on the login button. The same questions repeatedly. Okay? And to make these questions answerable, there are various levels of automation that one can do. Okay? I'm going to take a notepad to quickly. So team, this is just to show you a style of working. Okay, I will give you a lot of snippets in terms of how we try and do things in a regular world to make you successful. Basically, overall, it's not that we just want to learn the tool. We want to learn the right way to work in a team, the right way to use the tool in an organization, and so on. So I will use these kind of examples. For now, I'm just closing this. I'm taking a white background to show you one very simple thing. The first level of automation is basically record and run. That's called the first level of automation. That's basically saying that QTP, it's an instruction that we'll give to an automation tool called QTP. Learn what I do, then repeat what I do. And then we can run the same thing again and again. That is the base level of automation, or what we can say is the phase one. The next level of automation is we won't record. We will add as to or answer the questions of where we have to do certain things, which is called as the objects. And then what we have to do. So we will write the VB script. Okay, that is level 2. The level 3 is we're going to enhance this so that the same test can be repeated for different sets of data. That's a data-driven framework. Okay. Level 4 or extended of this is that what happens if an application goes through a change? You have to open QTP, go into that code and change everything. So basically, if in your car automation maintenance plan or manufacturing plant, you're building a type of a car, if you want to release a new model, you have to go and almost change everything in the automation plant. There is very less reusability into it. It's a problem. That's where we come and build simple reusable components called as keywords and make a lot of reusability of these keywords. Okay, that's our keyword-driven framework. That's what we'll eventually get to team, and then combine all of these together into something called as a hybrid framework. That's our goal. That's more like our goal. Now, so basically, what is QTP? QTP is a test automation tool. One of the most famous, been there for over a decade, a lot of other literature around it. I don't want to focus on the theory part of it. I want to open the tool and start talking about what it can do. So here's my QTP 10. We're going to launch it. We're going to get going. Before I do that, are there questions? Sorry, while I do that, are there questions that I can take from anyone, team? Chris, you had your, okay, you didn't have a question. Okay. Samantha, I believe you had your hand raised. So are there questions that I can help answer at your end? So team, when I'm asking questions, you can use the chat. If there are questions, you can also raise your hand if you're sure that you want to speak with the 80 plus other people around your question. Otherwise, feel free to use either of them. So now what I'm trying to tell you is that so far good, manually we understand what to do. Now I want to show that basic level 1. How can we record the same functionality? So what I will do is I am going to perform the same steps, but while I'm doing that, I will put this tool called HP Quick Test Professional into a learning mode. I'll ask it to learn those things. Okay. Okay. Sometime we'll come to output values a little later. There are different things. Here's the thing, team. We have come to such a stage, I mean, we in the sense, the QTP tool has been used for such a long time that you could almost do a lot of things with it. At the same time, not everything is automatable, but you got to know what can be, what cannot be, or should not be automated. Okay. But remember that base formula of ERA, unless it's efficient, it's reusable, and it is accurate, you should not automate. Okay. Now, I have opened QTP. Just like any other Windows program, I have the menu bar, I have the other things, and more details around these concepts I've explained in that 3 free classes that are there, full-length classes that are there on YouTube team. Okay, so now I want to give instruction to the team on what is it that I want to do from now on. So what I want to do is I want to teach QTP what to do. I want to give an instruction to it that learn whatever I do on an application and replicate or run the same thing again and again. So what is it that we want to do? We want to perform these steps. We will perform these steps one time manually. We want QTP to be able to run the same thing multiple times whenever I want it to do. That's the intent. Okay, so how am I going to do? I'm going to minimize everything. Hopefully we all remember these steps very well, and let me very quickly make sure that I remember my email and the password. Okay, now I'm going to go minimize everything, start to click on record. That is the first instruction. Like it's like our baby step towards QTP, where we are saying QTP, from now on, whatever I do, please learn. What did I tell QTP? Just learn whatever I do. Now I'm going to open up my Internet Explorer. Okay, so my IE browser is getting opened up. Did I see any line of code getting generated? No, I'm not worried about it because I'm not an expert on record and run process. I don't want to be also. I only want to focus on VB scripting. That's where our core competency is going to be. So I am going to go to Facebook. That we have opened the browser. Now we will navigate to that URL, facebook.com. Why is it still not recording anything? Interesting. That's okay. Now, what is that email address that I want to enter? qtp.paytest@gmail.com. Now, as I do that, did you see the step getting generated? Yes. So QTP is learning something. Now, the next one that we will try and learn is ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then I'm going to click on login. So as I perform these steps manually, you see that QTP is trying to identify the same thing and perform the same. Sorry, not identify, not perform. It's trying to learn. It is in recording mode. When we run it back, we will ask it to show us what it learned. Now, how do I verify that this has come? Okay, you and I, we can see using our eyes and make a confirmation that we see certain text. But how can QTP do that? We're going to come back to that, okay? But meanwhile, just to show you very quickly how it can do that, let's say that QTP wants to see if this is getting displayed, right? How can QTP do that? What is this for QTP first? What is it? Where is that whatever you want it to search for? And what do you want to do with it? Those are the two questions that we need to answer, okay? Checkpoints, team, just take it and throw it away. Don't touch checkpoints at all. It's very easy for me to go here and say insert checkpoint, standard checkpoint, come here, click on this and whatever here, okay? Don't do that. Just take checkpoints away completely. Now I've stopped the test at this point. So 2 or 3 things that missed out at the beginning is that I have given instructions. What is all this team? This is VB script. What is VB script? VB script is a translator between us and QTP. Okay. If this is us, okay, and this is QTP, it is a common language between both of us so that we can communicate. So QTP understands VB script very well. If you want to talk to QTP, you master VB script. That's it. End of the story. That's the only thing you got to do. Easiest programming language to ever learn. So just don't worry. That's what you should learn. That's what you will learn. Okay. Now, one of the things, so every step that we did, it recorded certain things. So if I just go quickly to active screen, it will show me what exactly I did on every step. Okay. Now, so what it's basically saying that there is something called as a browser object. Okay. The whole application is called as browser. In that browser, there is a page and it gives a name to each of them. In the page, there is something called as a web edit. This browser, this page, this web edit is referring to the class of that object. Okay. What does that mean? It's saying that, let's say it's an automobile. There are different automobiles, right? There could be a bike, there could be a car, there could be a truck. So we're talking about a car. That is the type or class of that object. Okay. In that car, there could be engines. There are V4, V2, V6, V8, V12, and so on. So then you're talking about the class of the engine or the transmission types. That is the class. So there is a web edit field inside a page, inside a browser. That is basically saying where QTP needs to do something. The next thing is what it needs to do. That's the method. And team, I may be breezing a little faster than ideally because that I still wanted you to watch those 3-day free sessions. So please go ahead and watch them. They're there at length. We will try and learn this in our own different style. Okay, I will try and give you different flavors to learn the same tool, but eventually there's one goal. You've got to master VB script. You have to master how to work with QTP and the frameworks. I'm going to come to some of these comments on the chat in a second. Let me complete something very logical, please. Okay, so at this point we gave an instruction that on the email address, that's what I can make out here. So I used active screen so that when I go to that specific line, QTP is trying to point to where I did something. When I go this, do you see this highlight? It's saying that email address I did something. Then password I did something. Then web button I did something. Click. Okay. So once we click, this is when we logged it. This is our VB script. But what we haven't done is we haven't launched the browser. It didn't capture how to do it. How can I do that? We use a command called systemutil.run. What it does is if I say it's like in English translated to saying QTP launch Internet Explorer.exe, comma, go to facebook.com. That's how QTP reads this specific statement. Okay, I have not gone faster on this statement, team. Any other class also I would have told the same exact thing. There is no other different meaning to the systemutil.run. Basically what this is a VB script command which runs anything on your local machine that you can run using here. So for example, notepad, you go to your command prompt and hit notepad.exe. The same way, if I say out here that I want to launch notepad, all I say is notepad.exe. These are all your utility executable files or programs that you can launch. So at this point, QTP will launch Internet Explorer and navigate to facebook.com. Then it's going to click on login at the end and log in. Each of the steps perform a certain action. At the end of it, I want to see if this text is there. So how will I give QTP the question as to if this text is there or not? What I'm going to do is first I need to identify what is this text and if it is appearing or not. So team, is it okay if I just show you one simple if statement, read it in English, just show it to you, and we will go back and review dozens of other if statements later. Okay, 2 questions. What is it? The first thing I want to do is what is the thing that I want to find? I want to see if this is there. And I want to see if this text, what do I want to do, is present or displayed or not. That is what I want to see. Okay, how do I see that? First I need to tell QTP where is it located. Like in the browser, in the page, there is a web button. Now I have to say in the same browser, though it is navigated to a different page, in a similar page, there is a text. Is that there or not? First, I need to tell QTP that this is an object. The way I do is I open my object repository. Object repository is the place where QTP has learned how to identify each of these objects and stored their addresses there. Team, 1 second, sorry. Sorry team, sorry for the background out there. All right. So what I was saying is we have, whenever we record the instruction we given to QTP is that QTP, see what I'm doing, learn that. So what it does is it puts a command out here that tells where we are trying to do something and what we are trying to do. We will master each of these teams as we go forward, okay? The only way to learn anything is practically. That's what I believe, not by reading a book. So as you continue to experiment different features of this tool, we will master them slowly. That's the process for us, okay? As it learns where it has to do something, the where part, it stores the name and the address of that object in something called as object repository. Names are out here and the properties that are used are out here. Did we learn how to use object repository? Are we already a masters of it? Not yet. It's an introduction. If you have not seen this earlier, this is the first time we are seeing. We're going to use this so often in so many different ways that we will eventually master it. Into this, it is, what did it do? There is something called as a browser. Do you see this? Here's my script. Here is my object repository. This is the browser object. Do you see this icon? How do I know it's a browser? You can see that a class is browser. If you go to the next item, you'll see the class is a page. If you go to the next item, you will see the class is a web button. Sorry team, 1 second. Sorry team, so here we go. So each of these objects have a class to it. Can you see the class? And that's the name of the class. So as you navigate, you'll see also different kind of icons getting associated with them. This is a button. This is an edit field. When you see that beveled ABC and so on, this is a page. This is a browser. Okay. Whatever we did, QTP has learned those. These are the names for those objects. Here are the properties to identify them. Okay. For example, your car, you can give your car any name. You can say that's my Camry, my red Camry, or you can say that that's my silver Lexus. That's the name you've given within your home to your family. But to be identified by someone else externally, they need that VIN number of the car, the license plate number, or some other descriptions for it, correct? Those properties are out here. It's like your email address, your social security number, and so on. Now, how is this and this related? These names correspond to each other. For example, if this is my script, and here are my object repository where the names of the objects and their properties or identification is stored. If I go to the browser out here and change this, and let's say this is my Facebook browser on IE. As I change this name and I move, let's say I click somewhere else in the screen, observe what happens to the script here. Do you see that? These two things are linked with each other. The way it does is QTP tries and executes each command at one time. As it does, it will see if there is a matching name out here. Once it sees a matching name, it will take those values to identify that object in the application that is open and then perform what to do. All right, that's the simple logic. For example, the page, welcome to Facebook is what? It took something and it put there. Let's say we want to change it. I want to say this is IE page. IE page 1. Okay, see what happens here as soon as I move to the next object. Do you see this? These two are linked with each other. Then I have login, email, password, probably signifying those specific objects. Always question what is it that we're doing. Now, why can't I see this text here? Because we never did anything on it. If I didn't do anything on something, QTP won't learn it automatically. You got to give that command separately, individually to it. The first thing, if QTP has not learned it, is to give it how or where is that object? What is that object? How can I recognize it? Give an answer to that question to QTP. The way we do it for that is click on add objects to local. If an object is missing, in fact, even that's how we're going to do going forward. We will not record anything else. We will only tell QTP, I want A, B, C, D, E, F objects from this application from the screen. Take it, then I'll tell you what to do next. That's the kind of discussion we got to have with that tool. Now I'm saying add objects to local. As soon as I click, my hand, my mouse pointer changes from being an arrow to a hand. The way, you may not probably see that using the go to training session, but that's how it shows. Then we will click on this are your friends already on Facebook? What I'm doing is I'm giving instruction to QTP. QTP, learn about this object. Okay, that's what we're saying. Learn about this object. Then it said browser, page, and then something called as web element, whatever. I don't know. Let's click on OK and see what happens to my object repository or collection of these object names out here. Okay. Did you see what just happened, team? Same browser, we went to a different page and it learned a different type of an object. Page icon, browser icon, different name. So let's say this is page 2. So I'll call this as IE page 2. And let's go to this object. Oops, I changed the name of this object here. I was supposed to change it here. IE page 2. What is out here? This is supposed to be something. My text, I will call it. It doesn't matter. It's our name. We are using it. Okay, we want to verify something, we calling that. When I change this to IE page 2, did anything change here to IE page 2? No. Why didn't it change to IE page 2? Because we are not yet using it anywhere in the code. Okay, now we will start to use it. What is this cube with multiple colors? This is the icon to tell that there is an object. Any object in a web application that QTP does not recognize as a browser, a page, a edit field, a button, a link, or an image, or a checkbox, a radio button, and a few more objects like this, it says it's a web element. Typically, any text, it will say it's a web element. That is the class of that object. Okay. Now, what did QTP do? It learned that object. It knows where it is, what that object is. What do we want to do? We want to check if that object is present or not. How are we going to do? We're going to write our code. We're going to start typing. Before I do anything else, team, I want to save my test, because just like any other things, you're working on a document, you don't save it, you lose it. Okay. So we're going to go very quickly into C:/QTP. Inside that, I created a J25 folder, which is for our batch. In that, I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to say FB1, Facebook 1. Okay. These are all saved as quick tests. When we come back tomorrow, I'll show you how we can quickly open this test. I will share all of these files and whatever we've done previously in other batches that you have recorded access to this recorded videos also. Now I know that object. So if I start to try and type in the same way as QTP automatically generated, let's see what happens. See, it's all about thinking logically, experimenting, and trying to learn it that way. See, as soon as I wrote browser and clicked on that open brackets, QTP automatically put FB space IE. I'm not sure why. Let's see. Now, as soon as I hit a dot, it gave me a different set of options. We'll come to this later. I'm going to try and replicate exactly what is there. As soon as I hit page and open brackets, unlike automatically filling FBIE, it is giving me two options. Do you want something from page 1 or page 2? Why? Because that is how it is there in that object repository. It is trying to see how it is. There are two pages in the object repository. Which one you want? I want the second one. Dot web edit button. What are these? These are the class names. If I go to my page 1, login is a web button. Email is a web edit. What is this? My text, the one we are concentrating on. What is this? Web element. So let's write web element here. And open brackets. See, it automatically got my text out here. Why did it get my text? Why didn't it get something else? That's the only web element present in IE page 2 with that name. All right. Now I need to know what to do. The simplest thing to do is called exist. What exist does is basically it tells us if this object is present or not when line 6 is getting executed on the application. Okay, so I'm going to say exist. But what that does is this will take this value and put it into an edit field. This will take this value, convert it into a normal text and put it into password. This will click on that login button. This is saying exist, but for this, for us to know if this is working correctly or not, I need to customize the code a little bit more. I'm going to put it into a small if statement, as I mentioned, which we will master slowly. If the way we read it in English is, if this object exists not in the object repository, in the application, then what should we do? Message box. What is this message box? It gives a simple pop-up to us. Yes, it works. And if. That is the syntax. That is how we communicate. Else, I will say, no, it doesn't work. That's it. Okay. So the whole thing we did is, now this and this are linked to each other. So if I change this and say expected text, it will automatically get changed out here. Do you see that? All right. So now when I run this, the instruction I'm giving to QTP is, QTP, now follow my instructions. These you have learned. These I'm teaching you further by expanding on that VB script. I want you to perform this whole set of instructions and do it. I want you to open Notepad. I want you to open Internet Explorer. Go to facebook.com. Go to that first page. Enter email. Enter password. Click on the next and see if it works. But it may take certain amount of time between line 5 and line 6. What do I mean? After clicking on login, before it can verify that this text appears, it takes certain amount of time for the page to load. So I'm going to give an additional instruction called wait. These are the simplest things which we'll use daily in every class that we will automatically master. But this is our direction in which we want to go. What we want to do manually, how can we convert the same using QTP? Okay, make sure your browsers are closed, team. Once your browsers are closed, I'm going to save this and I'm going to hit on run. And team, I'll tell you, you will master VB scripting by getting errors, by getting problems and solving those problems. Object doesn't support blah, 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 blah. Okay. So team, I would like to explain this at length further later. However, this is what I was trying to point to you, that when you start to interact with VB script, it will tell you that I cannot understand certain thing. It says that this object doesn't support this method. What are this property or method and so on? We will come to it later. Okay, we will expand on this later. But for now, I want to make it work. Okay, to make it work, what I'll do is dot exist and rerun this test. See, you're getting this notepad every time because that's what we gave instruction out here. Okay, now we go into Facebook. The page is taking time to load. QTP is being patient. You can see that running out here, it hasn't loaded. So QTP automatically will try and fail to do the next thing. It worked for line 1. It worked for line 2. Now it's trying to do line 3. What is it trying to do? Find this object, perform something. Unfortunately, my internet or this page didn't load. And then it comes up with another error. You and I need to master how we do by going through each of these error messages, understanding, and then trying to make those corrections in the code. In this case, there's nothing wrong with the code. It was just that my browser didn't load for whatever reason. And this can happen practically also. You have to give scenarios as to, and we will learn this, how we handle such situations when it happens. Now it loaded. Now it entered. Why is it continuing to give me this? Let me give some timeout for it. Should be exist. I'm going to give timeout. Oh, okay. I didn't pass any value into it. Got it. Where is it? Where are we? Did I close the browser, team? I did, right? Oh, we already logged in. We didn't log out. So see, it is all about we trying to interact with how this application is trying to work. It is saying that it cannot identify that email web edit field here. Why it cannot see that here? Because it sees a different thing altogether. It sees that, okay, this checked in, we are trying to keep ourselves logged in every time. So I checked that out, and now I will say QTP retry this step. Okay, now let it retry. There you go. Now it tells me. So what I basically did is I just, there are two properties. I can use exist, I can use exists. That is, what do I want to do on it? The thing I didn't do correctly is that I didn't give a timeout. Since I'm using the brackets and this is a method that returns something, we will learn these things as we go forward, team. I told QTP an instruction on line 7 that wait for 2 seconds at the max to see if this object is present. What is that object? It is this object. That is how I'm telling QTP that yes, it works. The same thing, now we will expand and we will put it for 2 or 3 other steps. This is our first level, basic level of automation for simple test cases. Once we have to go a little more advanced, we will slowly see how we can work with shared object repositories and then move into a data-driven framework and so on. Team, at this point, I just want to check, I know it's already 7 my time, but I wanted to check if you have questions that I can take, which are absolutely with today's session that we did on QTP. I'll be glad to answer. If there are questions that are not necessarily relevant to today's session, I will keep it for later, or the training, please email me. Team, please feel free to send me a chat message to start with. If not, I will take up the questions. I'm going to put all hands down to start with. If you have questions on this, then I'll say, okay. Can we put wait for instead of exist to? Okay, this is not exit, team, it's exist. What is wait statement doing is on line 6, I'm giving an instruction to QTP that wait for 5 seconds or wait for 1 second. Doesn't matter. Okay, even if I don't give wait statement, it may still work, but it is not necessarily the right practice. Okay, here I'm saying that so I don't even need this wait statement. It is almost similar to putting that wait statement out here. So if I say wait for exist for, it is as good as saying wait to here and then exist to here. Can we record the happening in keyword view? Can't we record? Don't touch keyword view. It is not needed. It is something that you and I don't need to use. If you don't want to learn VB scripting, if you don't want to learn frameworks, then you can stick with or go to keyword view. It is just trying to take what we are doing in VB script and expand it into something different format. And team, this is not a keyword driven framework, okay? It is just a different view of it. So stick with expert view only. Okay, let me see. How can we identify only part of that object? Are your friends? Can we identify only part of that object? Okay, so basically, once we go to descriptive programming, we're going to use regular expressions and combinations with it to do that. Okay, at this point, as it stands, no. Unless I go to the object repository, go to the properties of what is expected out here and change that into a regular expression. Okay, I do not like to work out here. I would like to work on the script level, and we will do that at a script level. So the question from Deepak is, instead of saying, are your friends awaiting your whatever, this whole message, can I just check if this text is present instead of the whole text? Can I just see a part of this, like friends already? So I'm saying you got to use regular expressions. We will come to that slowly. Okay, now let's see. Can we record again? Don't we need to put braces or for wait command? Okay, so sometimes yes, sometimes no. It is all about, is it a function or a sub function or a sub procedure? When things are being returned out of doing something and you want to take that information, you use brackets, else you don't. In this case, this whole thing that is highlighted is going to be replaced with true or false, and I'm going to use it. That's why we use brackets out here. Okay, it's about your function sub procedures. There's a whole session on that which is pre-recorded, which we will continue to implement and use. I had a question regarding the object. Okay, team, please do not ask me anything about installation or other things. That is completely offline, please. Okay, can we cover file system operations and database Excel operations in the pre-recording or live sessions? It is already covered in the pre-recorded. There is one separate session on FSO, file system objects, There is one on database. There is one purely on Excel operations. And we take that Excel operation things and use it for our data-driven framework. There are already sessions on that. Give error if there is a browser. Why QTP give error if there is a browser open? Okay, different reasons. What I'm trying to teach you is not how QTP works. I'm trying to teach you how you should work with the tool. What is it trying to tell you? What are the messages that you're getting? And when you're getting these error messages, what is it saying? It couldn't see this object. It couldn't do certain thing. If it cannot even find that object, what can it do? Nothing. So these are the messages we will continue to expand on as we go forward. When it saw, if it sees more than one browser, then it has a problem, and so on. So you can always make sure that at the end that you go to your browser once your test is completed and you close that browser. So that is a command. Where on the browser? What you want to do? Close. How do you and I know? Practice. That's it. Okay. Why is that QTP not able to capture system.util? First time it did. Each time it kept on opening notepads. See? So many notepads got opened. Raise the hand icon in control panel. If you have, okay, Vijay, if you still have a question, you can go ahead and raise it back. Deepak, do you have a question? I know you're on the phone. Do you have a question, please? I can't hear you, Deepak.
I mean, my only question was regarding that object, so no more questions.
All right, thank you. All right, Samta, do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I would like to know, I mean, how to add objects. I mean, it's not relevant to today's session, but can you please clarify it? How to add objects to shared objects repository?
So basically what happens is there is something called as local object repository. That is what it is by default for anything that uses any action. Okay. This is how it comes by default. However, if you go and click on Object Repository Manager, here is where I can add objects just like you add to local, but you have an option to save that. And that's how you create a shared object repository. Once you create it, you can then have any of your actions access that. We will be coming to that exact thing in the next 2-3 classes.
Okay.
All right. So that was a quick answer because it was not even discussed today, but we will expand on that as we go forward. So team, any other questions, please? Anyone? My script has close all tabs. That's fine. So there's different things. So you can close, and then there's the next thing called as .close all tabs. Do you see this? As you go on each of those things, I'm going to emphasize what this method, what this icon is standing for, what this icon is standing for, and you'll see help text for each of them. Okay, it's a very neat tool which you can interact with. Okay, it's a very neat tool. It will help you with a lot of things. So close all tabs is basically saying that if your browser has multiple tab openings, then you can try and close all the open tabs, not just one browser page. Srinivas, I cannot help you anything with the installation things in here. Backend testing using QTP. So significant amount of database testing, how you can connect to different types of databases, run your select queries on them, get the record set and work with it, take that information, add, delete, modify, and so on is already there. So that part of backend testing is there. What is the difference between set and set secure methods? So team, basically I'm reading through the chat and trying to answer those questions. Okay, set is a method which is taking the information as is and putting that here. Set secure is a method that is saying that is used for passwords. Typically, if I have a password, QTP does not want to very openly show that password in the script. What it does is that password is automatically converted into a different encrypted text and takes that and puts that in the password field. Set secure is basically encrypting and decrypting your text back into the system. Okay. You can do a lot of error handling with QTP. That comes through your on error resume next. Everything must be done at a code level. Okay. Nothing at a tool level. Even recovery scenarios that are there as part of a UI, you got to do the same at a code level. Okay, let's see. Will we only discuss web testing? Yes, only on web-based browser applications. However, the good thing, Sandra, is that it doesn't matter. 95% of everything is same. The only difference is what is the kind of an object, how does it look, and what do you want to do. That's the only primary difference between it. Otherwise, in company, do we work on local object repository shared for most of the time? You can work with either. You typically work with a local or a shared and a combination of descriptive programming. There is no one size fits all. It's all on the need. Able to speak or able to respond, but how can I speak to you? Vijay, if you want to speak, okay, if you want to speak to me, then you talk offline. If you want to speak with the entire audience, then you can have yourself, I can unmute you at the time. Keep informing us what all videos we should after your day session. Yes, I will tell you exactly what videos to watch as we move forward. For now, just go with me, watch this day 1, day 2, day 3 in YouTube. That's it. Dilip, I didn't even get your question. Can you re-mention that, please? I don't have anything on web service. Sorry about that. We will come to some of the differences on this. What is click, what is set, secure. These are all methods. Depending on the type of the object, we will perform that. We will come to that as we go forward. All right, team. So thank you then. Okay, so just to let you know, Dilip, the last question that I want to handle today is that depending on your operating system, sometimes QTP automatically captures a different method. It may capture a different method on mine. It may take a different one on yours. Okay. We will not discuss separate add-ins like SAP. As I told you, 95% of the things are common. VBScript is common. How you create, build, and maintain these data-driven, keyword-driven, all of these are common. Okay, everything else is different. So I have a few hands raised. I want to take them. Team, for those of you who want to disconnect, you're more than welcome to drop out. I can respond to any of your emails offline on this. I will also upload this video so that you all can access it. Okay, Nitesh, you have a question for me? Nitesh, do you have a question for me, please? I can hear you. I don't know why you had your hand raised, so I just wanted to. Ashok, your question? Ashok? Asad?
Ashok?
Yeah.
Asad?
Yeah. Hi. Can you please tell me when are you going to upload this video
I will.
on the web?
So, Asad, just give me a few hours. It has to get converted into Windows Media format, then I have to upload. So I will send an email as soon as it is ready. Okay? Ashok, you were trying to speak something. I can hardly hear.
Is only VBScript supports QTP
Yes,
or
correct.
any other language?
No other language, just VBScript. It's not like Selenium where you have different choices. It's just VBScript.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All right, sure. Vijay, do you have a question for me?
Yes, Karthik. Does we use the object repository in the entire recording?
Can you repeat your question? I didn't get it. Is the object repository?
Yeah. For automation, we will use object repository or through descriptive programming, or it is a mix of both.
It is a mixed, Vijay. Here's the thing. It is basically you go with, you're like a carpenter. You go with your whole truck, but depending on what is needed at that home, you take those specific tools from your truck, go and use it and come back. It depends on what the requirement is. That's what you'll use. You got to learn everything. You got to use the right things. You got to know what to use where. Okay? Anil, question. Have you unmuted, Anil?
Yeah, actually, are you able to hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Yeah, are you able to hear me, Karthik?
Yes, I can. Go ahead, please.
Hello? Yeah, actually, what I wanted to find out was, do you provide support after the training once we get on to work, and then we have any questions on job? Do you provide support for that?
So here is how it works, and I wish I can show you the Google group, but basically I do not do project support. It's my time which does not permit me to do project support. However, anyone comes to me for project support, I told them first go through the entire training A to Z. Most 95% of the people don't come back and ask for any project support after that because they're self-sufficient. They know the solutions. Irrespective of that, you have a lifetime membership with the Google group. If you still have questions, people start to post them there. If you cannot get a response, people continue to reach me even now from people who've been trained 2 years ago and so on, and they still get support for it. All right. So Anil, offline question, but since you asked it, I'm answering it. All right. So team, I cannot take any other questions. Sorry, I'm 15 minutes over into the time. Very unlikely, but I just had different topics an altogether different new type of batch. Just to let you know, if you're beginners, yes, this is Fast Track Plus is absolutely 95% of the people who are participating are absolutely beginners into it, so do not worry. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. I will upload the video. You can go back and review it, and we'll see you back tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye then. Thank you.